All right, good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started with our meeting. Hello, there we go. Can you hear me? All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for waiting just a couple of minutes as we had some technical difficulties. We are about to start our meeting. We will stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then after that, we do have a brief moment of silence. And then we will go into our recognitions. If you are not familiar and you're here this evening to give public comment, the sign-up sheet is over here under this television, and you'll need to sign up prior to public comment if you are looking to do that. So if you can stand with us, we'll go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Director Jones, you want to kick us off? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. We can go ahead and do roll call.
Can you hear me? Mr. Chavez.
Here.
Mrs. Evanson.
Here.
Mrs. Heights.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Lima.
Yes, here.
All right, do I have a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mr. Chavez.
Yes.
Mrs. Evanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Heights.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Lima.
Yes.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 2nd, April 16th, April 22nd, and April 29th, 2024?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Mr. Chavez.
Yes.
Mrs. Evanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Heights.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Lima.
Yes.
All right, we will now get into our recognitions. So first up, we have the Betcher Scholarship recipient that Director Evanson will be presenting. For those larger groups that are in or here this evening, we'll have you go back to your seats after we recognize you, and at the end, Callie would like to meet you outside to get the picture of you together, because it's just a little easier to do the picture out there. So for small groups, just stay standing at the front, and she'll take your picture in here.
May I have Christina May Sheely at the front of the room, please? Hello. No treasure slides. We're excited to announce another District 51 student was added to the recipient list of the 2024 scholarship. Say that again. How do I say it? What's your scholarship? I'm horrible.
The Betcher.
Thank you. Yes. The Betcher Scholarship is a highly sought-after scholarship that allows our most dynamic thinkers, doers, and difference makers to pursue higher education within the state while continuing to make positive impacts in their communities. Each year, over 1,500 students apply for the Betcher Scholarship, but fewer than 50 receive it. This prestigious scholarship is awarded to students who excel academically, demonstrate strong leadership potential, and are committed to their communities and possess outstanding character. Christina May will join Central High School senior Bryce Davis as one of the other 2024 scholarship recipients for District 51. Known as an exceptionally dedicated student, Christina May commutes 3 hours every day to attend the IB program at Palisade High School. Her perseverance is evident as she strives to maintain her academic and extracurricular commitments. She is the founder of the Palisade FTC Robotics Club, co-president of the National Honor Society, concert master for the Palisade Symphonic Orchestra, and a concurrent student at CMU. Additionally, every summer she volunteers as an intern at the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum in Hawaii. Giving back to the community there, her intelligence, determination, and resilience have led to her receiving the Betcher Scholarship. The Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Hill would like to congratulate Christina May on this outstanding achievement. Your hard work, dedication, and commitment have paid off, and we look forward to watching you represent D51 as you continue to higher education in Colorado. Can I give you a handshake? She's gonna get up.
Well, congratulations. Next up, Director Lima will recognize the Future Business Leaders of America, the state winners, and national qualifiers.
Would the students who qualified for the Future Business Leaders of America National Competition please come to the front of the room? Yes, all of you. In early April, the district's 4 comprehensive high school FBLA chapters broke club records as they attended the Colorado State Leadership Conference in Denver. At the event, students engaged in and competed in business-oriented activities alongside more than 3,300 students from across Colorado. The state competition allows them to demonstrate their abilities and gain valuable preparation for their future endeavors. FBLA, or Future Business Leaders of America, is a nationwide association that helps over 230,000 members prepare for careers in business. The students standing here with us tonight have displayed exceptional dedication and hard work. They have demonstrated their skills, knowledge, and professionalism in various FBLA competitions. Your success in FBLA reflects your individual accomplishments and highlights the commitment, support, and guidance your teachers, advisors, and mentors have provided throughout the year. The Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Hill would like to recognize and congratulate the following students for advancing to the national competition. We're excited to watch you embrace the opportunity with passion and determination, knowing that you are among the best and the brightest in the nation. From Central High School, Advisor Mary Doan, did I do that justice or did I annihilate her? Did I do it right? Okay, great, thank you. Rona Norman, Intro to Programming, 3rd place. From Fruita Monument High School, Advisor Kathleen Recker. Britton Hovland, Help Desk, 4th place. Jacob Corneliuson and Audrey Sanders, Network Design Team, 4th place. From Grand Junction High School, Advisor Suzanne Dunlap. Tayton Noblick, did I say that one right? Did I get that one right? Good, thanks, Tayton. Personal Finance, 1st place. From Palisade High School, Advisor Melissa Wright. Bailey Edwards, Accounting, 1st place. William Neese, Public Policy and Advocacy, 2nd place. Evan Prosser, UX Design, 3rd place. Sawyer Jacobson, UX Design, 4th place. And Leo Zhu, yeah, thank you, Intro to Programming, 4th place.
Alrighty, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Will. May butcher your last name Jones, so if I butcher your last name, you already know. All right. Will the students who placed at state level and qualified for national competition to the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America please join me at the front of the room? In April, these students competed in the state FCCLA competition. FCCLA, or Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America, is a student-led organization that focuses on family, consumer sciences, education, leadership development, and community service. Students from GJHS, PHS, FMHS, and Fruita 8-9 represented the Western Slope with flying colors at their state leadership conference in Denver. which saw over 1,000 Colorado students showcasing their projects and participating in leadership activities. These students had the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge, abilities, and strength in a range of categories related to family and consumer sciences. In 2024, the FCCLA state competition resulted in 3 state champion titles and 16 national qualifiers for this summer's FCCLA National Leadership Conference. These skills, these students have mastered throughout the process, and the knowledge they continue to gain and expand upon will help them pursue future community leadership roles in their chosen fields. They are hard workers, dedicated, and talented students, and natural-born leaders. The Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Hill would like to recognize and congratulate all of you on an outstanding accomplishment. Thank you for representing our district so well. We look forward to your success at the FCCLA National Competition this summer. So from Grand Junction High School, Aiden Ennis in Food Innovation State Champion. Alyssa Johnston, National Programs, Families Acting for Community Traffic Safety State Champion. From Fruita Monument High School, Carrie Munoz, is that right? And Victoria Reisler in Promote and Publicize FCCLA State Champions. From Palisade High School, Lanessa Asplund, Kennedy Stephen, and Aaliyah Craig in Entrepreneurship. Kai Rubush in Fashion Design. Gabriella Spriggs, Sustainability Challenge State Champion. Katarina Weber and Addison Fox in Food Innovation. Kira Trousdale and Michaela Trousdale in Job Interview. Alyssa Ortiz in Alyssa Ortiz in Early Childhood Education. Violet Gray in Nutrition and Wellness. And Delaney Wright in Leadership. Alrighty, will Lanessa Asplund, Kennedy Stephen, Anika Walla, Ian Allen, all from Palisade High School speech and debate team, please join me at the front. The National Speech and Debate Team, National Speech Association district tournaments are held annually to determine the qualifiers for a national tournament in speech, debate, and congressional debate. The Palisade High School speech and debate team recently competed in the congressional qualifying tournament, with 1 student earning 2nd place and 3 qualifying for nationals. Ian, a senior at Palisade, earned all state honors after placing 2nd at state competition for international.
Extemporaneous.
There you go. Speaking. Ian began his journey in speech and debate just a year ago, and his remarkable progress and achievements this season demonstrate his exceptional growth and excellence. Following their success in their incredibly competitive state competition, is it Lanessa? Lanessa, Kennedy, and Annika will head to nationals in Des Moines, Iowa, where they will compete against 6,700 students from over 1,500 schools. Under the leadership of Tracy Cermak, all right, who was named the District Coach of the Year for her outstanding commitment to students in speech and debate program, the team continues to excel and bring home numerous wins. Placing its state and qualifying for nationals showcases these young students' public speaking, critical thinking, and persuasive communication skills. Your dedication and passion for what you do is truly impressive. The Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Hill would like to congratulate Lanessa, Kennedy, and Anika, and Ian on their accomplishments this year, and thank Coach Cermak for your continued dedication to this program. We look forward to hearing for your success in the national competition this summer. Hey, Ian.
And Coach Cermak is at the back if she would like to come forward with the students, so.
Ethan Bollinger? These are the next one? Yep, my bad. Okay, that's it.
Oh, yeah, it is.
All right, Annika, Ethan Bollinger, and Tracy, please join me at the front. The Board of Education is proud to celebrate the outstanding achievements of several individuals who have excelled in the Western Slope speech and debate community. These students and coaches have demonstrated dedication, skill, leadership, in their respective roles, all contributing to the success and reputation of our district's speech and debate program. Annika. Annika, a Palisade High School speech and debate team captain, was named Student of the Year by the Western Slope Speech and Debate coaches. This recognition is a testament of her dedication to speech and debate, her impressive leadership, and her outstanding character. Central High School speech and debate coach Ethan Bollinger was awarded the new Coach of the Year by the Western Slope Speech and Debate League. This is well-deserved recognition, reflects his dedication and passion for guiding and mentoring students in a part of speech and debate. And finally, we celebrate Palisade High School's coach, Tracy Cermak, who was named the District Coach of the Year by the Western Slope Speech and Debate League. Tracy's leadership and steadfast dedication to the speech and debate community continue to have a positive impact on all she inspires and shapes the success of our countless students. The Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Hill would like to congratulate these three individuals on their impressive recognition and their contributions to the excellence of our speech and debate programs. Well deserved.
And while the next group's coming up, because this is the end of our student recognitions, we've got a lot of staff. I see some principals in the room and families. Can we give all them a big round of applause for all the support they provide our students?
All right, and then next up, we have the National School Nurse Certifications that Director Chavez will present.
So would these individuals give me the honor by coming up front? Robin Winfrey, Sabrina Mota,
Got you.
Morgan Leda, is that right? Briella, I think it's Edgenberry, and Krista Fendrick. Thank you. At District 51, we are fortunate to have exceptional school nurses who diligently serve our students and staff every day, from administrating medication and managing chronic conditions to promoting wellness and health education. Our school nurses serve a significant role in helping our students stay healthy, safe, and ready to learn, which in turn supports our families. Thank you. Recently, these 5 D51 school registered nurses passed their National School Nurses Certification exam. That is wonderful. The National Board of Certification of School Nurses awards the National Certified School Nurse credentials to registered nurses with exceptional education, clinical experience, and expertise. Earning the NBCSN takes a substantial amount of dedication and hard work through hours of studying, practice, and perfecting their skills. Our school registered nurses continue to set their bar high as they work to ensure that they can provide the very best care for our students. We are incredibly fortunate to have them in our district. The Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Hill would like to congratulate these outstanding nurses on their achievement. Thank you for your dedication, commitment, and passion you show in serving our learners.
And while they're getting the award too, I want to mention Katie McHugh is in the audience. She's the head of our nursing services. And we were kind of half joking a while ago because she's like, I haven't seen you in a while because, when COVID hit, we talked all the time. But we want to remember that these individuals helped keep our school buildings open and keep our kids in school. So can we give them another round of applause for all they do?
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our recognition portion, so unless you're really just wanting to stay for the rest of the board meeting, we'll give you several minutes to go ahead and make your way out this evening. So enjoy your time and drive safe.
They will find yours.
All right. Well, congratulations, and thanks for the rest of you that want to stick around here. So, all right, we're going to move on to board reports. So, board, good things. It's been a busy last week, at least. What, 7 graduations and 1 this week, right?
7 graduations.
6 and 1 left, right? We have 6 and 1.
We have 7.
7 and then 1 left?
Yeah, you were at 7. You were at all of them.
In
Yeah,
steps,
in
yeah.
steps, yeah. So we did all 7 graduations and
1 Friday.
1 more this Friday. Then we'll wrap up the school year.
Super fun. Any other good things? I know there's been lots of, KPP, PBLs, all the acronyms, which means just basically the board gets invited to see different student presentations from elementary school all the way up till 12th grade. Some of those are doing their presentation to actually be able to graduate, so those are fun to do as well, so.
Brian and I attended a PBL last week at Broadway Elementary. It was really cool, and it was kind of unique. They set it up. They were donating all their funds were going to the Palisade hatchery to save the Razorback suckerfish, and they were selling snacks and different things. And I think I bought keychains and bracelets and pictures and
Wolf did, didn't he?
puppets.
I hadn't been to the bank because everything you pay for with a card now. So I was like, you don't take Venmo? And so I had to go take cash out and then bought a lot of stuff. So yeah, it was fun. Thanks for going to that.
Yeah, it was a good time.
All right. Any committee or activity updates from the board? We've still just been working through policies, so there's a few more tonight. So policy committee, we've been busy on that one. And we've been, just working away on those things, so. All right, Okay, board, we are ready for D51 happenings and celebrations.
And while she's coming up, I would want to add a good thing. You know, I was looking at the expulsion report that gets put out every month, and I know we've gotten criticism in the past for the numbers being too high, but I am proud of the work that's happening in our buildings this year. If I did the math right, that's a 58% reduction in the amount of expulsions that we've had this year compared to last year, and so a lot of work happens at our buildings to be able to support kids. Obviously, if a student gets expelled, it's because of something that they did, and it's worthy of expulsion. But I'm proud of our staff for really working hard with our students and keeping them in their buildings, and that's something to celebrate. That we're down 58% in expulsions this year from last year. So thanks to our staff.
That's great news, thank you.
Okay. Hello, board. I'm Sierra Colson, Marketing and Communications Specialist for D51 Schools, here to share with you the District 51's happenings and celebrations. To start, Jen Foster is a resident art teacher at STEAM at Taupe, and she is May's Golden Apple recipient. Jen was nominated for her passion for introducing art to young learners. She fosters a spirit of imagination and inclusivity that translates into the beautiful hallways at Taupe. Thank you, Jen, for your efforts in and out of the classroom, as she also assists the PTO and contributes her own resources. You enrich the environment at Taupe and throughout D51. May 6th through 10th was Teacher Appreciation Week. Throughout the week, the D51 Foundation, Nutrition Services, Superintendent's Office, and school PTA and PTO associations from around the district helped to celebrate teachers for their hard work and dedication to our D51 students. The City of Grand Junction and the City of Fruita even made an official proclamation. Thank you to everyone who helped recognize the amazing teachers we have in our classrooms. We wouldn't be here without you. And then, oh yes, as in previous years, the District 51 Foundation brought together our staff, Board of Education, and engaged and supportive community partners to express gratitude to our teachers for their hard work and dedication. We want to share their fantastic video, which thanks our teachers for everything they do.
Your child needs these 3 key factors to get into an Ivy League or
This is
top
not it.
25 university.
It's Teacher Appreciation Week, and we want to thank our District 51 teachers for their hard work and for making a difference in our community. Thanks to your dedication, our D51 graduation rates are at a 17-year high.
Your focus on academic growth and achievement helped our school district recognize 27 of our schools as performance schools with the highest academic rating in the state of Colorado.
Your hard work is making a difference in our workforce.
Our Grand Valley businesses appreciate your dedication educating our students in Mesa County.
Thank you for preparing the future of our business community.
One of the best ways we recruit new businesses to our community is by having strong schools. You're helping to make our economy stronger than ever before through your hard work to make School District 51 one of the best school districts in the state.
The strong partnerships between CMU and District 51 have allowed students untold opportunities. And your hard work in the classroom is preparing these students for life in our community, whether that be in the career or in college.
Thank you for making sure the 20,000 students in School District 51 feel safe and supported in a strong learning environment.
It's truly appreciated across Mesa County.
Thank you and happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
D51 staff members and teachers have continued to be the largest donor to United Way Mesa County, and your generosity makes a huge impact on the lives of citizens throughout our community.
We appreciate all of the ways you're making a difference for the students in our D51 schools.
We are proud to support your work, and we thank you for nurturing our future.
From one end of our valley to the other,
you are there for the children in Mesa County and our entire community.
And we want to say,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of the entire community, we want to thank you.
Happy Teacher Appreciation Week.
Each year, the Ute Water Conservancy District hosts a water festival at Las Colonias Park where over 1,500 fifth grade students from across the valley participate. Local organizations come together to interact with and educate students about water-related industries, career opportunities, and the importance of water conservation. Thank you, Ute Water and other organizations for collaborating with D51 to teach students about the molecule of life. Project Search is a transition program aiding individuals with disabilities in moving from school to the workforce. It offers hands-on training and workplace experiences, partnering with local businesses in Grand Junction for internships. The focus is on developing job-specific and broader employability skills. Success is gauged by interns securing employment within 9 months of completion. Recently, all 5 D51 students in the program graduated and have employment upon their graduation. Thanks to Project Search and our D51 staff, especially Jim Panzer from Colorado Project Search and Martha Gertzenberger, D51 Project Search lead teacher, for your invaluable support. A huge shout out to our engaged and supportive community partners, Community Hospital, Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, Strive, Mesa County Workforce Center, the ARC, and United Healthcare. You have all been instrumental in helping our students not just succeed, but thrive beyond D51. In May, we celebrate our school principals for their inspiring leadership. They create environments where students thrive academically, socially, and emotionally, shaping the future of our schools. We're also grateful for our nutrition services teams, who ensure our students are nourished and ready to learn every day. Thank you to our school nurses who support our students to stay healthy in school, safe and ready to learn every day. Also, shout out to our communications department for keeping our community informed and sharing all the good things happening in our district. And hey, how about that new website? Yes. The Special Olympics of Western Colorado has profoundly impacted individuals with intellectual disabilities. Over 400 District 51 students from 35 schools engaged in track and field events, fostering self-esteem and community. Beyond athletics, the event highlighted the transformative power of the Special Olympics, offering connections and recognition for hard work. The community's overwhelming support emphasizes the positive impact of the Special Olympics on both athletes and the wider Grand Valley. Back in February, Palisade High School's fish hatchery began their months-long process to research and nurture the endangered razorback sucker, with their final goal being releasing them into the Colorado River in May. This month, they achieved their goal and released 270 razorbacks. This also marked a significant milestone as the hatchery has now released over 1,000 fish into the Colorado River. Palisade High School isn't just making a difference, they're empowering future stewards of our environment to make an impact on a larger scale. Kudos to everyone involved in this commendable effort. Last week, we celebrated the graduation of over 1,400 students from 7 schools, each earning their high school diploma. We have 1 school left to celebrate on Friday. We honor each and every one of these students who made it to this point. It's not always easy, but you did it, and we're so proud of you. You are prepared and supported by those around you. Class of 2024, we can't wait to see what you do in our world. And May was a busy month. If you're interested in more D51 happenings, be sure to check out the superintendent letter and follow us on our social media accounts at D51 Schools or School District 51. Thank you for a wonderful school year. We hope you all have a wonderful summer break, and we'll see our students and school staff back here in August. Thank you.
I did want to just point out that the website. So if you remember, that was something we've talked about for a long time, and it's our old website needed a complete makeover because you could never find anything. And so this has been a very long process. We only have 2 individuals who work in our communication department, plus support from John Ford. And so that's a huge lift with all the other things that communications departments have to do to get that even launched, coordinating with the IT department, all the schools to have all their school pages ready, all the departments. Like, it's just a lot of work and a huge lift. And so I do want to say how much we appreciate Callie and Sierra and the team for getting that new website up and running. And it's part of our strategic plan goal to actually do that, and they've accomplished that. So if we can give them another round of applause for that website. Does that make up for how when I first saw it, I found all the mistakes? So, okay, thanks.
It does look really good, much better than what we had, so I'm sure we'll have some kinks we'll have to work out along the way, but it'll be good. So, all right, we will now move into our superintendent report, and I think we have Amy Atwood on the line for the legislative update. So as you all know, the legislative season has concluded, so we asked Amy Atwood, our lobbyist, to come and give us sort of a rundown of some highlights that happened this legislative season. So, Dr. Hill, do you want to say anything before she takes it away, or go? All right, Amy, take it away.
Great, thank you. Amy Atwood, Atwood Public Affairs Contract Lobbyist with the district. It is good to be with you this evening virtually. I am traveling tomorrow and just could not guarantee I could get back to Denver in time. I did not want to wait until June to review the session and to discuss the impact D51 had on the future of school funding in Colorado. Tonight, I will focus on how school funding evolved throughout the session and answer any questions you have. I hope you had time to review the end of session report in your materials tonight. The session concluded on Wednesday, May 8th, 2 weeks ago, and saw the introduction of 778 bills and resolutions, the most in any recent history. Of those, 525 passed, while 180 failed. We considered the session the bookend to the year, with the new legislative year beginning in July. That is the time when stakeholder meetings commence, bills are drafted, and interim committees and task forces start their hearings. So we are wrapping up the legislative year here at the end of June, and that's also when all of the bills will be signed, is by the end of June. The theme of this session in education was undoubtedly school funding in both the short term and long term. The topic of school funding has been a major concern for lawmakers and education advocates in Colorado, as I have reported on for many years. The school funding system, established in 1994, has been largely unchanged since the passage of Amendment 23, nearly 25 years ago, and has only seen minor adjustments. A number of years ago, the legislature formed the School Finance Interim Committee, which worked for years to rewrite the School Finance Act, but unfortunately, they were unsuccessful. It's worth noting that interim committee members are legislators. They are not subject matter experts. I have tracked and reported to you the work of this committee throughout its duration. After several years of limited success by the interim committee, the legislature took action last year to establish a school finance task force. The task force consisted of subject matter experts in school finance, superintendents, CFOs, community representatives, and education stakeholder groups and associations. It did not include any legislators. Their charge, the task force charge, was to find consensus built around recommendations for a new school finance funding formula. The task force recommendations were available to the legislature before the session started in January, and many of us reviewed those recommendations. Many of the recommendations had consensus, but some did not, so there was also a minority report. I tracked and reported on this task force when I presented to you in the fall. If all of the recommendations were to be implemented, the state would have to find more than $1 billion to do so. The likelihood of the task force recommendations making it across the finish line was very slim, like the proposals of the interim committee brought forward each year. The logjam was successfully broken this year with the passage of 3 bills, each accomplishing a significant step forward for school funding. First, the passage of Senate Bill 188, the funding package for next year for 24-25, that does not include the budget stabilization factor for the first time in over a decade. Second, passage of House Bill 1448, the reform of the school finance formula to direct more money to at-risk English language learners and special education students, and increase overall spending by $571 million by 2030-31. And this bill 1448 was born out of the recommendations of the task force. And lastly, passage of Senate Bill 233, which creates a 2-tier property tax system that protects school district revenues even as new limits will be placed on tax revenues for all local governments. Legislative leaders and education advocates acknowledge that the bills, these three bills, only fix some school funding problems, but not all. First, the reforms do not address the adequacy of school funding, whether schools are spending enough or receiving enough to accomplish goals like certain levels of student achievement. These bills are to address the equity in school funding. So there is a difference between adequacy, do we have enough, but with what we have, is it being equitably spent? Two studies commissioned last year in 2023 are looking at the adequacy issue and will report in next year. So we likely will see legislation that comes out of those adequacy studies. Second, it is impossible to guarantee that the reforms are financially sustainable. Legislative sponsors have repeatedly stressed they have structured their bills to ensure the budget stabilization factor will never need to be invoked again. But there's no guarantee that a recession, future law changes, restrictive ballot measures, or other unforeseen circumstances will not pose new challenges. I'm going to get a little in the weeds here with numbers, but please bear with me. When we look at 24-25 funding, the numbers you built your budget around for next year, the state total program funding will be $9.7 billion with no budget stabilization factor. The total program will be $561 million higher than this school year's funding. So the budget stabilization factor has been totally bought down. That's what we call it, being totally bought down to zero for next school year. Base per pupil funding will go up $419 to $8,496. A key element of this year's bill, or the bill to fund 24-25, is the inclusion of $35 million of additional support for rural districts, which is being made a permanent part of the finance formula. In recent years, the additional support for rural schools was a year-by-year decision by the legislature. This year, it was made a permanent part of the finance formula. Okay, now let's move on to the new finance formula. So what I just talked about are the numbers that you used for the 24-25 budget. The new finance formula begins in the 25-26 budget year. Most school finance discussions concern the new funding formula, House Bill 1448. The outline of the bill, with many but not all of the task force recommendations, was released by Speaker McCluskey in March. This did not surprise those of us engaged in education policy and the legislative process. I shared the outline with Superintendent Dr. Hill and Chief Finance Officer Ms. Trujillo and received feedback from them on the foreseeable impacts on D51. I shared the feedback with Speaker McCluskey, the bill's main sponsor, that moving the average from 5 years to 4 was a major problem for D51 due to declining enrollment and would have impacts well beyond full implementation in 6 years. This is the point at which, as the board, you took the position to support the bill if amended to deal with the averaging issue. Speaker McCluskey took our concerns seriously and respected our approach to finding a solution. Through many respectful conversations and proposed solutions, the averaging issue was resolved through what is being termed a plus up for districts that are like D51. Each step of the way, each committee hearing and floor vote was counted. As we passed through the first committee hearing, momentum began to build. I worked with each legislator who represents D51, and each one committed to supporting the bill, but only if our issue was resolved. And in the end, each one voted for the bill. Passage was certainly not a slam dunk, as there was strong opposition from wealthier districts and CEA, all of which moved to support or neutral before the final vote for passage was taken. Speaker McCluskey has been in the thick of school finance discussions for years and finally pushed reform across the finish line. The bill reorders and adjusts the weights of factors like at-risk, ELL, special education, district cost of living, district size, and remoteness. These are used to calculate the customized per student funding allocated to individual districts. The bill was amended so no district technically will lose funding, and CEA had a number of asks that were granted. The new formula, as I said, will launch in the 25-26 school year and be phased in over 6 years with full implementation in 2030-31. The bill includes circuit breakers, provisions that allow the Joint Budget Committee to pause implementation of the new formula in case of adverse economic or revenue conditions. The circuit breakers were the final amendments added to the bill and gave the Joint Budget Committee members more certainty over the bill's impact on the state budget. And lastly, in this funding package, the legislature introduced a property tax bill 3 days before the session ended. This bill is not only an education finance bill, but is also intended to control the growth of property taxes. Sponsors wanted to protect local school revenues, which have proliferated in the last couple of years and made retirement of the budget stabilization factor possible, at least for now. This bill was born out of recommendations from the Property Tax Task Force created last year, much like the School Finance Task Force recommendations. Starting next year, the bill creates 2 assessed values for each residential property, a slightly higher one for mill levies assessed by school districts, and another for all other local government entities. The bill includes a hold harmless payment of $351 million to school districts in the 24-25 to account for the loss of local revenues. So the state is backfilling any loss of local revenues. There are smaller hold harmless payments in the following 2 years. Voters this fall will likely see ballot measures that further reduce property taxes. Those do not have the carve-out for mill levies assessed by school districts. The legislature hopes their end-of-session effort to deal with increasing property taxes will convince the voters to vote against the ballot measures. Okay, I've been talking for a long time. Does anyone have questions about funding or other bills you're interested or anything in the report?
So you said, you made a key phrase in there. You said the budget stabilization factor being brought down for now. So can you elaborate on that? Because my understanding is that it didn't go away. It could come back. Is that accurate?
Sure. So what that means is the legislature did not repeal the budget stabilization factor language in statute. They just brought it down to 0. So as of right now, for the 24-25 school year, the budget does not include the budget stabilization. The formula does not include the budget stabilization factor. It was not repealed, so there would be opportunity in the future for it to be added back in. But for school districts that transition over to the new school finance formula, there is not language for a budget stabilization factor in the new school finance formula from House Bill 1448.
Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but House Bill 24-1044, I believe Representative Taggart from our area, this was the bill that sets up a quota system under which districts can hire specified numbers of retired teachers who can work for up to 6 years without losing their para benefits. Was he one of the sponsors of that bill?
Let me just check real quick. Yes, he was, along with Representative Hamrick and Senator Chris Hansen.
Yeah. I just would like to thank Representative Taggart for reaching out to the district and asking us how this could help. We know that we obviously sometimes we don't have subs or teachers that can fill those positions, so this gives us some flexibility to be able to have those who want to retire but are able to come back, and this doesn't hurt their para benefits. So I just want to highlight that one and thank our representatives for that one. Any other questions or thoughts? This is a really good report, Amy, so thank you for this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying adequacy versus equity, because I don't want to confuse folks that maybe are hearing this and thinking, well, now we've adequately funded K-12 education in Colorado. Like I said, the last I checked, we're 35th in the country. Maybe this helps a little bit, but we're still not adequately funding K-12 education. This just took the funding and redistributed it in a way that is more equitable, and it added some additional funding over a period of 6 years that doesn't start until not this coming school year, but the school year after. So it's a phased-in approach, and it doesn't really address all the inadequacies in the school funding. So I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't want folks to feel like, all right, we made it and we've got everything we need to fully educate our students. We still have more work that needs to be done around that. So I appreciate you pointing out the difference.
And lastly, I'd like to add that D51 was the leader behind the Plus Up provision. Because of declining enrollment, we needed to figure out a solution so that D51 could support the bill, which then also would mean that our delegation would support the bill. And there's some inside politics baseball there about why, of course, our delegation is important. But finding a creative solution with the Plus Up was fantastic. And the district's approach to respectful conversations and providing feedback was key in that being included in the bill. So that's all I have.
Well, Amy, we have to give you props because you're our mouthpiece when we're over there. So we appreciate you hearing us and how after talking with Melanie and seeing how D51 could come out well, with the new finance formula. We just really appreciate you going over there and advocating for what would work well for District 51. So thank you for that.
You bet. It's an honor. Thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions, then we thank you for your time and we hope you have a good evening and safe travels tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thanks, Amy.
All right, Dr. Hill, next up.
So the next item is just a quick update on where we are with negotiations. So got a slide presentation. There it is. Okay, so we held our 2024 round of negotiations with MBA on May 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 10th, 11th, and 17th for our negotiations. So I want to also point out that many meetings were held throughout the school year with representatives from D51 and MBA and subcommittees to work out a lot of the details and possible options ahead of the meeting dates listed above. So I'm appreciative to the folks from MBA and from D51 who worked throughout the year on trying to come up with presentations and options before we even met on the 2nd. And then at the May 17th meeting, the D51 team and MBA reached a consensus on an agreement on the items in the following slides. So I'm going to walk through this. It's a lot of text on the screen, but these are all the things that were agreed upon at that meeting, but that will also be going to MBA for ratification, and then we'll come to the board as well. So I think it's important to point out everything that's going to be in there. So the first bullet is consensus was met on a 7% cost of living increase and a one-step movement for all eligible staff. This will result in a starting salary for the teacher salary schedule of $50,015, okay, which is great. Following the applied negotiated increase of a 7% cost of living adjustment to the salary schedule and an eligible step movement, covered employees who received the GMI, which is a guaranteed minimum increase stipend during the 23-24 school year, so that's this school year, may continue to receive a GMI stipend of up to a maximum of $3,600 if their placement for next year on the salary schedule does not increase by at least that $3,600 amount. So that would be the guaranteed minimum increase that somebody would receive, would be at least $3,600. And that GMI stipend will end after this coming school year. And I do want to mention that our HR team is has been and will continue to work with the handful of teachers that are in that situation to try to help them to understand options that they might have. And that's already been happening even through the negotiation process. We've gotten emails from people saying, well, this I'm not going to get anything. And then HR stepped in and said, well, actually looking at your situation, you will. And so that's helped, I think, teachers understand it a little bit more. And then MVA will reimburse the district 100% of the president's salary and benefits, including the district's para contribution. The next set of bullets, a letter of agreement to study the placement and schedule for school psychologists during the 24-25 school year was agreed upon. A letter of agreement to examine the language regarding TOSAs, those are teachers on special assignment, during the 24-25 school year was agreed upon. School psychologist initial lane placement on the education lane 9, MA plus 75 as well. And then the salary lane advancement for the 24-25 school year for teachers, counselors, and school psychologists, and applications for educational lane advancement submitted to take effect beginning in the 25-26 school year, and thereafter a covered employee may move a maximum of 2 educational lanes per year, which is important for folks who are getting that continuing education. And just kind of to pause on that, some history. So we went back to steps and lanes this past school year. We had not been in for a while before that, and that was a joint effort with MVA and D51 to really to try to figure out how we can compensate our staff who are getting continuing education and making sure that they're getting compensated for that. So it's a good thing that we put that in place and are continuing to be able to support it. Next set of bullets, school counselors, school psychologists, national board certification stipend pay was, there was funding put into that. And then also the extracurricular salary schedule, we made some changes there to help with paying folks who are overseeing our extracurricular activities. We increased the number of participants for D51 content area and curriculum design teams to 150 total participants per school year. And then during district orientation and Jumpstart, that's the new teacher orientation at the beginning of the year, MVA is able to utilize 1 lunch hour at each of those events to provide every new incoming employee information pertaining to the negotiated agreement. And then this next 2 bullets, they have a lot to them, but at least 3 times each year, excluding September through the second week of November of school board elections, not more than 2 members of the Board of Education will meet with district leaders and MVA, and we've called this ERPIC in the past, so that's what it stands for. It's Education Research and Proactive Collaboration Team, for the purpose of providing background data and information with regard to the agenda items up for negotiations that year, as well as strengthening the operating covenants contained within the negotiated agreement. So those will be meetings throughout the year that we'll hold to bring ERPIC back. And then the district and association agree that a meeting will be held at each building site to review important parts of the negotiated agreement and board policy. The meeting will be established by the school principal and MVA representative and will be held on an in-service day in the first quarter. And that's language that was already in there. There's some modifications were made to that section. And this is a busy slide, but these next 2, I just really wanted to make sure that we highlight a celebration. This is our salary schedule for teachers, counselors, and psychs, and this would be the updated salary schedule going into next school year once everything is ratified and adopted. And again, you can see that BA zero step, so a new teacher would be making $50,015, and then every other section of the salary schedule saw the increases that we mentioned before. So this is a good thing. This helps us with not only retaining new teachers to come out to our community, but also, recruiting, but also retaining our staff. And like I said, making sure that we honor the continuing education that they've put in. And so this is a celebration for our school district as well. And then just to put it in perspective, and I've shared this, Mel shared this at negotiations, I've shared this in some presentations, but I think we just need to celebrate where we've been and where we are now. So in 2021, our starting teacher salary was $37,500. We were well below our comparable districts for starting teacher salaries, which again makes it really hard to attract new teachers to the community. And costs have gone up, right, over time, and so that's made it harder to afford things. And so through a lot of work, and this is a shared goal between the district and teacher association to get that starting teacher salary up to 50. And so that's something that we'll be able to accomplish this school year. And if I did my math right, I think it's about a 33% increase over the last 4 years, which is a huge celebration for everybody. So want to highlight that. And I do want to point out that last bullet. We've been able to do it without having to go out and ask for a tax increase for our community. And so a lot of work has happened internally and then also at the negotiation table to get us to that point. So that's a celebration that we should be excited about. So last slide here, next steps is NBA will ratify the agreement with their membership this week. Once that's completed, we'll have a board meeting. We'll have to call a special meeting for the week after, so the last week of the month, to hear a budget presentation from Mel and approve the changes in the negotiated agreement. And there'll be a resolution that you'll vote on. And then also with Mel presenting that budget before the May 31st deadline. And so that'll happen the week after. And again, I just want to say thank you to everyone who participated in negotiations. With a lot of time, not only sitting around the table, but then all the work that happened leading up to it as well. And then HR will send out additional information to employee groups once all this has been approved so that folks get individualized emails to help them understand what this means for them. Okay. So that's all I have. That's language straight from the items that were agreed upon, and we'll communicate this out as well. So any questions about that?
So I think just for clarity with the guaranteed minimum increase, so this last year we had, 120, 130 people that were kind of fell into that category. And during that time, many have either taken more classes or done whatever they've needed to do. And that amount is markedly less this next year. So I would hope or foresee that possibly next year, since it is coming to an end, we'd have most of those people in a spot where they are then on track to get the increase. Is that correct? I just want our community to kind of understand what that PMI piece is a little bit more clearly.
Yeah, and I don't have the exact numbers, but yes, you are correct. The number that it impacted this year compared to the number it'll impact next year has dropped significantly. And that's why I mentioned earlier that HR working with those folks individually to say, here are your options. And, this gives them at least 2 years now to have kind of a runway leading up to any change there. So yeah, but that number did drop significantly. So I don't have the exact numbers though.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right. We'll do a last call if anybody wants to sign up for public comment, which is under the television over. Oh, you already got it. Never mind. So no last call. All right. Well, board, are you ready? You're good for going into comment? How many do we have? 3. Okay. All right, Director Jones. So we have the timer up there, the little black sort of box thing that will show you the time ticking down. We also have this little box here that will do a color light. So once it hits red, that means to stop. And then you also have a tone for when you have 30 seconds left, so you know to wrap up your thoughts, and then a longer tone when your time is complete. So, all right, we'll go ahead and have Director Jones take it away.
All righty, since we only have 3, I will announce who's up, who's on deck, and who's in the hole. So on deck was Ms. Ricky Howie. Up now is Ms. Ricky Howie. On deck is Ms. Sarah Fletcher, and in the hole, Ms. Kim Borer. Good evening, Ms. Howie.
I am a leaf on the wind. See how I soar. I think it's important to remind the board how important it is for you to get the materials list out to the public. The materials, especially the ones I was concerned with on the policies, were not available until after 11 o'clock today. So anyone who wants to read the policies, understand them, and check the references, legal references, are in a little bit of a lurch. So I'd like to address KEC, the public complaints about instructional materials. I'd like to point out some areas where this policy is unclear. And I don't think that you should approve this policy tonight. If you look at paragraph 4, that starts, the board recognizes the right of an individual parent/guardian to request their child not read a book. And then when you look down in paragraph 6, that starts, the person who objects to the book, and about halfway through, that paragraph says, only parents of a student enrolled into the district, students enrolled in the district, residents of the district, vendors, and employees may file a complaint. And if you go a little bit further, they're not just regarding a book, complaint about a book, but it's about a complaint about an incident. So it's not clear what's intended. And I would also like to be included in this policy some sort of a description about when, where, and how the process of a complaint is available to be reviewed by the community. For example, the first steps would be at the school level with the principal, the teacher, or the librarian, but it's informal. And how is someone, if a book is removed, how is someone supposed to register that and decide how it's to be understood? The second part of the process is to go to the board, the superintendent, and to a review committee. And again, would a citizen have to fill out a CORA to find out if a complaint had been made and what that complaint was and what the result was? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Howie. Up next, we have Ms. Sarah Fletcher, and up lastly would be Ms. Kim.
Good evening. I just want to say thank you to all of our volunteer school board members, and also thank you to Dr. Hill. I just wanted to, in a general sense, compliment the board on taking on some of these policies. The library policy, the instructional resource selection adoption, the cell phone use policy, and the policy about public complaints. I have a question about the library materials. I have a note here. Sorry, I took some notes for myself. How will this be implemented, as well as what kind of guardrails will be in place for the materials? Being that I've been to a lot of school board meetings in the past, there's been a lot of concerns and issues about, like, number 2, appropriate subject area for the age, emotional development, ability level, language levels. You can read it, it's all here. How would that be implemented, or what kind of guardrails would be in place in the implementation of that? And then the other thing I just wanted to say that I was very pleased to see is that all textbooks, library materials, instructional resources, materials shall be available to students' parents. And as a parent, I thank you for that, for acknowledging that the parents have a seat in the room about decisions and things that are being done in the district. And then finally, I also wanted to just say I appreciate the fact that you all have streamlined some of the processes, whether it be like through the digital registration, which we'll be doing in the summertime, but the complaint process, that's been streamlined. I also appreciate that very much. And thank you again for all your hard work. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Fletcher. And lastly, is it Borev? Booyer.
Now you guys know my name. First off, I'd like to tell you all thank you very much for all your hard work and the fact you guys do volunteer. the cell phone. Good job. Good job. I'm excited about that. And the web page. Good job. I looked at that today. I'm really excited about having the fact of enrolling. Parents don't have to go and look where all that's at. There are a couple of things that might need to be looked at, but it looks really good. And I appreciate, sorry, no fighting, no fighting. But most of all, the new school board members, thank you for stepping up and joining the team. You guys are amazing. The raises, I appreciate it. I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to retire, and you guys just keep giving me more money. Stop it. But appreciate it, and hoorah, 2 more days of students.
That concludes our audience comment for the day.
All right. Next up, we have our consent agenda. So the consent agenda contains personal actions and acceptance of gifts and items that are routine and can be approved by a single motion. Items on the consent agenda will not be discussed individually by the board unless an item is removed for individual consideration. Board, is anyone requesting any items be removed? I will point out that we did have a total of $22,517 in gifts that were given to D51. So thank you to everyone that donated. All right, yes, yes, we can clap. Thank you.
So clap.
Yes. All right, do I have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Mr. Chavez,
Yes.
Mrs. Evanson,
Yes.
Mrs. Heights,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Ms. Lima.
Yes.
All right, that one passes unanimously. All right, so next up, we have the board policies. So I will remind everyone that we get these 2 weeks ahead of time. The board has been trying to get into the role of having first readings at the work sessions, which those policies are presented at that time. During that 2 weeks, the board can seek questions. Sometimes there are edits made to those, but for the most part, those policies are pretty right on at usually the first reading. So not always, but for the most part. So those are available to anybody from the time the work session is done until the time that the board votes on them. So it gives the board and everyone else 2 weeks to look at those. Excuse me. Board, do you have a preference? Do you want to vote on these all together, or do you want to vote on them individually?
I'm fine with together.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll make the motion second. There'll be a time for discussion, so then you can pick any, if there's any that you want to specifically discuss, and then we can vote on those. So do I have a motion to approve the policies J1A, or J1B, J1C, and J1D policies?
Motion to approve the policies.
Second.
All right. So we can have discussion around some of the concerns that were brought up for KEC. So along with that one, there is a regulation policy. So I believe some of the questions that were asked this evening, or the concerns that were brought up, will be addressed in the regulation portion of that. And then we also will have a KECE, which will be the electronic form. I know some of the feedback we got on these complaints, and this is for instructional resources and/or books, that parents had to go inside the school and pick up the form, and that was a little bit cumbersome as far as some parents' schedules. So there will be an electronic form for that, for parents, guardians, families to be able to access that, to fill out in case for anything to be reviewed. All right. Let's see.
And that really should streamline the process significantly for.
Absolutely. Yes. And then in the regulation, it does talk about the whole process of who it will go to first, and then next, and how everything is reviewed. So in light of there being, we've obviously had public comment over the last few years around some books that families have had concerns about, and they will now have a process to be able to present that in a more streamlined way. And then those books will be reviewed by the principal and obviously different people through the regulation to be reviewed and discussed, and then determined whether they will be removed or stay in the schools. So that should make it a little easier for our families to approach that. I think the one I would like to point out was after the community meetings that we had on the new social studies standards, or that came down from the state, it was great to have a lot of community participation and people come out to be able to express concerns. And so I think for IIJ, the Instructional Resources Selection and Adoption, this wording was really was basically in there, but we just kind of specified it a little bit more for our families. So under item 2, it will be appropriate for the subject area and for the age, emotional development, ability level, language levels, and for the social, emotional, and intellectual development of the students for whom the materials are selected. So this language should help kind of calm any families that were concerned about things being appropriate for especially our elementary age students. So, board, any other discussion on any of these? Oh, how about the cell phone? Yeah.
On the parts regarding the books, it says in here, perhaps by arranging the use of alternative materials for the child meeting essentially the same instructional purpose. I was just wondering who's responsible for arranging the alternative materials? That was the only concern I had, and I forgot to ask that. It just seems like if a teacher has an instructional book to read and the parent says, I don't want my child to read it, is a teacher going to have to find alternative materials, or is a parent going to have to find the alternative materials? I just see if the teacher turns it, says, here's another book, it's a way that parent can keep on saying, I don't want that book, I don't want that book, I don't want that book. So I just would like that more clear.
I believe the process now is our schools take care of it, correct? They take care of it, yes, that's what I'm saying, yes. So when, obviously the more notification that parents can give, if there's obviously a resource that's gonna be coming up and being used, my understanding is that then that can be presented to the teacher, and the teacher will work within their building, and or they can go on up to the curriculum team to figure out a different resource.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think they actually have like alternatives already ready to go in those events, yeah.
I would just think if it was like a fictional book or something that then the parent could find the book that they feel that would be appropriate for their child to read.
Yes, yes, and I think some, actually in discussions with some actually educators as we've been out in buildings, they usually tend to have a couple of different options for families and students in their classrooms, just depending on, whether the feeling that they get. So for instance, reading Harry Potter, some families might be fine with it, some may not. So then an alternative was C.S. Lewis, The Chronicles of Narnia. So again, it's a fantasy type novel, but there was alternatives. And so I know one of our educators already had that kind of set up and ready to go. So it was still along the same genre of reading, so.
Just, once again, I just didn't want the teachers have to keep on trying to find books.
Yeah.
And I would just feel that if the parent does not want the book, then they would find the same type of genre of the book and bring it, saying, would this be okay, and then have their child read it.
Well, and Jen had to step out, but we can get her to clarify with the board and send something to y'all on what that looks like, so.
Yeah, I would say that's my limited understanding, but we should probably ask the Jen and Jackie kind of what well,
Jackie's here.
Can you answer it? Yeah, come on up if you can elaborate, and then the board can get our question answered. Yeah, she was hiding. Good question.
An important phrase in that policy is the instructional value. So it depends on the context, and we would rely on our teachers to determine the instructional value. They're the ones who are backwards planning and unpacking the standards. But the context that you provided with fantasy, that's a different context where many different titles would work, but it depends on the standards that are being taught in that unit. And so the teacher has that deep knowledge, though, of the instructional value. So it's a conversation. Context matters in that. Yeah. A lot of designs go into making that an efficient process for teachers and students and families.
So with Director Chavez's question, if a parent does come and present something different they'd like their child to read, is it discussed with the teacher, or has that ever happened, or what does that look like as far
I think
as
that's
it-
where that policy points us first to the classroom teacher.
Okay.
It can often be resolved between the classroom teacher and the parent coming to consensus, and the teacher having an opportunity to say, well, this is the instructional value this text holds, this is why it's selected, this is how it helps us meet the standards. An alternative text would have these functions, right? And the teacher might have an alternative text, often does have an alternative text in mind. A lot of the resources that we've adopted, our curriculum designs, keep that in mind. Sometimes it's tricky, though, and it's harder to find another text that meets that instructional value. And we would consider things like the text complexity and grade level appropriateness. And those aren't things that we've equipped our parents to do. That's what we do as professionals and as educators, is to know grade level text and text complexity and how we're unpacking the standards. But that's where the first point of contact is the teacher and the parent having that conversation.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
That was great. Great question, Director Chavez. Any other, well, how about this cell phone policy? I think that's one that I know a lot of work and forethought has gone into, so.
Well, and if it helps, I do want to make sure that folks are clear what's in here, and maybe it's better to do before you vote. There has been a lot of work that's gone on this, and so thanks to Tammy collaborating with a lot of different folks to get the language in here. So I won't read the whole policy, but I do want to point out there's a sentence in the first paragraph, because I know this can feel like we're taking something away from kids, but I actually think it's giving something back. And so it talks about creating engaging spaces in the educational environment that foster sustained attention and maximize learning. And that's what we're trying to give back to our teachers and our students in the buildings by removing distractions from the classrooms. And so we've clarified language in here around what exactly is a personal electronic device, and it gives examples of that in the policy. Everything from, I know we focus a lot on smartphones and cell phones, but there's other examples in here of things that have been creating distractions in our classrooms, and so those are included in that. And to differentiate between, so pre-K through 8, just to be clear, these devices are going to be prohibited during the entire school day. I say that because once this passes, we'll send out information to clarify that with families, but families need to start having that discussion with their students, especially if they're pre-K through 8th grade, to prepare them for next school year that they are not going to have access to these devices during the school day if you're in pre-K through 8th grade. And so they need to be kept in a designated area and turned off is the language that's in the policy. And the turned off is an important thing as well, because if you have a designated area in the classroom, let's say it's a phone holder in the front that the teacher's using, or it's one of these like a wooden box or something like that, but I have it on vibrate, then during the class, I'm going to hear the vibrate noise during that time. There was also questions about, well, can I just keep it in my pocket? The research is pretty clear. If you have it in your pocket, even if it's on vibrate, it's going to distract you and you're going to want to look at your phone. And so the idea here is that that distraction is removed completely. And so pre-K through 8th grade, they're not allowed to have it on them. If they bring it in the classroom and there's a designated storage space in that classroom, it needs to go in that space immediately. It needs to be turned off. If the designated storage space in the class, in the building, and we'll leave these things up to the school principals, but if it's the locker or the backpack, those are things that can be deemed as designated storage areas, but it's not your pocket or on you on your person. So I want to be clear about that for pre-K through 8th grade. And then students in 9th through 12th, we mentioned before that we had to differentiate this for high school just because of the nature of what high school looks like and how students move about the building. And so it's prohibited during class instruction time, and that's the beginning of class to the end of class. And the same rule applies there. It's not in your pocket. It's not on you. It's off, and it's put in a designated storage space. So that, again, that might be a phone holder in the room. That might be a backpack or a locker. We've got a couple schools that are talking about piloting like the Yonder pouches, and so if that's the case, that's your designated storage space, but it's not your pocket in those situations. And so just, I think that's probably the biggest piece of it. I want to make sure that we're clear with families that starting next school year, if this is adopted, pre-K through 8th grade, it is a total school day prohibited, and then 9th through 12th, it's during that instructional time. We did add language in there. The board had mentioned, trying to highly encourage, even at the high school level, outside of class, hallways and lunch, to not be on. So we did add some language in there about it can be used during passing time and lunch periods, but it's discouraged, because I know there was a worry about once they leave class, they're just going to get their device out and stick their face in it. And so we have language in there to say it's discouraged, but we couldn't do an all-day ban at the high school level just because of the nature of it. So that's in there. And then the sections underneath that really talk about what happens if it's violated, if the policy is violated, and it could be confiscated. It can result in, if a student refuses to turn over the device, what that can result in as well is around discipline. And so that's all laid out in the policy as well. And then there's obviously exceptions to when a student might need their device. And so it lays out 3 options there. So if a student is on an IEP, a 504 plan, a healthcare plan, something like that, and they need the device, there's obviously an exception for that. If they have to respond to an emergency and things like that, there's emergency, they can have access to it. And then if there's an instructional purpose for a teacher that says, I need them to have it for whatever reason, then they can, just like with anything, they can go to their principal and say, here's a reason why we might need it for this class lesson, and that's an acceptable use for it. But outside of that, it wouldn't be. And then you see the section around violations, and then loss or damage, that's always been in there. We're not responsible for loss or damage of devices that are personal. So we'll send this out. We'll communicate, we'll put together some FAQs and help folks to understand what we're to be ready for next school year. But I just want to make that really clear that pre-K through 8th grade, it will be a all-day, no access to them. And then 9th through 12th grade during that instructional time, and that's the full class period, not when the teacher's done teaching. It's start of class to end of class. It's not, I'm going to go to the bathroom for 20 minutes and get on my phone then. You don't have access to it, to those devices during instruction time. And it actually lays out in here locker rooms, bathrooms, and other places where they're not allowed as well. So again, we'll try to communicate this as much as we can. It doesn't matter how much we communicate it, folks will still feel like they get caught off guard in the fall. So we know there's going to be some bumps with the implementation, but we're very serious about this, and our teachers and our principals are behind it as well. And we're really excited about the positive impact we think it's going to have on our students. And again, creating those spaces within our classrooms that are more focused and not having distractions for learning. So any questions about the policy or anything you have concerns about before you vote on it?
How are we communicating with, the teachers and then like substitutes for, it's like IEPs and 504s. So if the kid's supposed to have it, is that teacher going to know day one that, Will Jones is supposed to have his phone because of his 504 IEP? Yeah. And then if she's gone, that substitute is going to walk in that day knowing the policy.
So that would be, that's a good question. That would be with anything that's in an IEP, right? So before the school year starts, our staff are provided with IEPs for students, and it's a responsibility to be able to understand what's in those IEPs and provide the services that are in the IEPs. So that would be the same with this, just like anything else would be an IEP. And then the same thing happens with if there's a substitute teacher that, I understand that it's not going to be perfect every time, but trying to inform them as much as possible of anything that would be an IEP, not just around a cell phone in the classroom. So
thank you.
I think I'd like to clarify that this isn't just phones.
Yep.
So this is smart or electronic watches, tablets, laptops, Chromebooks, virtual reality devices, wireless earbuds, earphones, cameras, audio, and other video recorders and players. And so I think that is probably what I think a lot of people are going to initially think, a smartphone or a cell phone, but we have a lot of electronic devices that can cause disruptions and distractions. I know this year it was really popular for our elementary school kids to get those electronic watches. So parents, again, are going to have to know that those have to be turned off or stayed home or put away in a bag until, till the end of the day. So I just would really encourage people to read through the policy. I also, for like high school, it says students may wear smart or electronic watches, but they may not use any communication applications or features that are prohibited from use on any other electronic devices. So the watch can't be the workaround for the phone. So those things, again, just to be mindful that you don't show up and not able to use, well, think you're going to be able to use these and you're not going to be able to.
And I think earbuds were one of the other pieces
Yes.
that we had a lot of concern from teachers saying that, kids had them in and they're difficult to see and they've got them on even though their phone is put away. They're still connected to it and they're being distracted by it. So it is going to be a heavy lift, but again, the more we can communicate it out to our families and our teachers to make sure that everybody understands exactly how this will go, then I think it'll be very successful.
Yeah, thanks for pointing those out. And like I said, it will be an adjustment. And so we know there's going to, anything you read about other districts or schools that have done this, there's always that like week or two where, they're going to test the limits and, but we have to stick with this and reinforce it. And like I said, our folks in the buildings are, excited about this for the most part. I'm sure there's going to be some folks that maybe aren't pumped about it, but, for the most part, this is something that they know is a distraction, and it's caused a lot of issues in the schools. So that's a good thing, that we'll be able to address that. And we may have to make adjustments too. The policy it's a living document. So if we decide after the school year starts that there's some tweaks that we might need to make because we've learned some things, we can always do that. And so that'll be important as well. And then I mentioned before the holders. So we're working with Western Colorado Community Foundation. They're very interested in this as well. Not only for the schools, but even outside of school time, at home, with families when kids are first born, how to really educate families on responsible use of screens and things like that. So they've stepped up as well, and they want to help contribute to anything that would be a barrier for our teachers. And so these phone holders that I talked about, they're ready, willing, and able to raise funds to be able to purchase those for us so that it's not a burden on the district, a financial burden, which is a good thing. And so we appreciate Ann and everybody at Western Colorado Community Foundation for working on that. So, and we'll continue to push out information to families too, to try to educate around why we're doing this and help folks understand. But I'm very optimistic that I think this will be a good thing for our school district and folks will see the benefits pretty quickly.
The level of both agreement and commitment that I've heard from the community, school staff, teachers, even students, has been, I think, higher than a lot of the things that we've tried to make when we've tried to make these types of changes. So, we want all of them to know that they've got the board's commitment as well to the success of this new policy for the betterment of everyone.
I know we didn't put this in the policy, but maybe you can clarify as you've been talking with building principals, because I know in some of the feedback, it was just having continuity in the building, because there's teachers now who actually do have their students put their phones in like a holder or something, and then there are some that do not. So have you emphasized that with our building principals, that if they pick something, just to make sure that it's expected throughout the building?
So we didn't want to prescribe too much exactly what it has to look like in a building, because every building is different. And like, for instance, I had one principal reach out to me and say, we've actually been doing a pretty good job with this already. And our students, the expectation is that the devices are in backpacks in their lockers, and so they don't need classroom holders necessarily. And so we didn't want to prescribe it too much or be too prescriptive to say this is how it has to be done. And so, but that's something we've communicated with principals, is being very clear, at the beginning of the school year, of what's the expectation in our building around what storage might look like, what a designated area might look like. And individual schools, they're already doing it. I've got some high schools that have sent me their own school procedures that they're ready to send out for next school year, of what that will look like in their individual buildings. And so we wanted to have some flexibility, and that's, Tammy stressed that buildings need to have some flexibility within a policy to make it work for them. But the more consistency we can have, the better, so the students understand the expectation when they walk into the classroom. So that is important.
I just think that helps support our staff, because you might have some teachers that can implement it a little bit more easily than others, you know, and, or just if it's a more veteran teacher who just, you know, has managed their classroom for years, knows how to do it a little better than maybe a new teacher or whatever the situation might be. I just want to help make sure our staff feels supported, that they can just say, hey, this is how we have to do it in the building, and so these are the rules, and this is what we're gonna follow through on. So, and kids thrive in that. Kids thrive when they know what the expectations are, and they know what to expect. So I'm glad to hear that we've encouraged our building principals to figure out what works best for their buildings for that. So.
And that's why it'll be important for the principals to put out messages to their families to say what it's going to look like in their buildings too. Because like I said, we do have some schools, I don't want to say school names because I want them to be able to communicate with families first, but we have some schools that are interested in piloting those Yonder pouches, and that's the one that the phone goes in it locks, and you can keep it on you during the day, but you can't actually access it, and then you can unlock it at the end of the day. And so that'll be an interesting pilot for us to see the impacts, because everything we've read and seen from other districts and schools that have implemented those, they've seen really great results. And so we're hoping to see the same thing here as well. And again, that's something that that the foundation, Western Colorado Community Foundation, wants to help find funding for that as well.
Will you, when they've decided that and announced it to their school communities, will you make sure that the board knows? Because I think that would be something interesting for us to share with our community so they can learn more about it.
Definitely.
Okay. Any other discussion on the policies? Okay. All right. If no further discussion, we can go ahead and take the vote.
Mr. Chavez.
Approved.
Mrs. Evanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Heights.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Lima.
Yes.
All right, and that one passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for those. All right, we have future meetings, June 4th and June 18th, but like Dr. Hill mentioned, MVEA has to ratify the negotiation or the consensus on the negotiation this week. So then, once that's done, the board will be presented, and we have to approve our budget and ratify that before the end of the month. So we'll likely have a special meeting, but that'll obviously get posted. So you can be on the lookout for a meeting next week from the board, a special meeting that will just be pretty quick to go over those things. And then we have one June 4th and June 18th. And just remember, the board does get a vacation from meetings in July, I guess, unless there's something that comes up that we have to have a special meeting. But typically, there's no work session or business meeting in July. So, and then, let's see what else. Any future business items that the board wants to bring up, or any last board discussion?
Did we find out when Gateway graduates?
They don't have any graduates this year.
Graduates?
Okay.
Thank you.
They might have one next year.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. All right, that's it. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you, everyone.